When my husband decided once again to abandon me just to celebrate his youthful love's birthday, I finally felt free. He took his so-called first love to stargaze, and I didn't argue or make a scene. He bought her a scarf worth thousands, and I simply smiled faintly, telling him to get her a hat too, because the weather was cold. He thought I had finally come to understand him, not knowing that behind his back, I had already renounced my nationality and sent in my application to Doctors Without Borders. By the time he realized, I had vanished without a trace. Chapter 1. When I received the call confirming that my application had been approved, I couldn't hide my excitement. "Please don't worry, I'll be there by the 3rd of next month," I said, and after hanging up, my eyes burned with emotion. I reached up and touched the necklace around my neck, my parents' final gift to me. They had both been doctors with Doctors Without Borders, and it had always been my dream to follow in their footsteps. But 4 years ago, after marrying Kevin, I buried that passion because he said it was too dangerous. Now, with nothing holding me back, it was time to chase my dream once again. I wiped away a tear and turned to see Kevin stepping out of the bathroom, towel drying his damp hair. He glanced at my reddened eyes and frowned slightly. "Were you crying?" he asked. I shook my head. Something got in my eye. He murmured a vague reply, neither exposing my clumsy lie nor seeming to care. Perhaps he was just in a rush. He changed clothes, and something fell from his pocket. I picked it up. It was a restaurant receipt. Kevin paused, reached over, snatched it from my hand, crumpled it up, and tossed it into the trash. "Last time I had dinner with the director, I paid." I gave a bitter smile. "That restaurant only accepted couples. You couldn't even enter if you weren't." That director must be a man in his 40s or 50s, and Kevin hadn't even bothered to hide the lie. It was clear he no longer cared at all. Chapter 2. When I didn't react, Kevin looked like he wanted to say something, but his phone rang. From the corner of my eye, I saw the name Sabrina on the screen. Within seconds, he walked to the balcony, even closing the window behind him. The cold, distant face he always showed me now softened into smiles. Not long after, he returned with a slight frown and told me there was something urgent at the university. Before I could respond, he grabbed a coat and rushed out the door. I knew full well what that urgent matter really was: another date with Sabrina, just like the countless ones before. And just like clockwork, as soon as Kevin stepped out of the building, a petite figure threw herself eagerly into his arms. He said he was heading to school, yet the car drove in the complete opposite direction. 3 months ago, when Sabrina started at his university as a counselor, Kevin had changed completely. The man who used to be stern and aloof now joked around playfully with her. The man who had always prioritized his research above all else suddenly took a week off because Sabrina coquettishly asked him to go stargazing. The man who never noticed the changing seasons now remembered to buy her a luxury imported scarf. On my birthday, when I asked for cake, he told me I wasn't a child anymore and birthdays didn't matter. But for Sabrina's birthday, he bought her a 3-layer strawberry cake and even took her to Disney. When I confronted him, he said Sabrina was young, alone in a new city, and needed someone to care for her. But Sabrina had living parents while I had none. Kevin was the only family I had left in this world. Chapter 3. After that day, no matter what Kevin did, no matter how blatant his betrayal, I stopped arguing. I had already decided I didn't want him anymore. I had my lawyer draft divorce papers, and I also sent my application to the United Nations for Doctors Without Borders. Now that it had been approved, all that was left was for him to sign. The next day, I met my best friend for lunch. She laughed and teased, "Did the sun rise in the west today? Ever since you got married, for 4 years straight, you always turned down plans with me because you had to cook for your husband." It was true. For 4 years, I had cooked for Kevin every single day. But no more. As we ate, a familiar voice drifted over. I turned to look. Sabrina was pouting and saying, "Professor, I don't even know how to write reports. Don't you think I'm dumb, keeping you up all night just because of me?" Kevin gently rubbed his nose and smiled at her. "Yeah, you're a bit dumb. Without me, you probably couldn't finish one in a whole month." "This soup is too hot," she whined. "I really don't know what to do with you," Kevin said indulgently as he took the bowl of soup in front of Sabrina and started blowing on it gently. My throat tightened. Bitterness flooded my heart. I remember the time I burned my tongue on soup and Kevin rolled his eyes, saying, "No one's fighting you for it. It's not like you've never had soup before. It wasn't that the soup was too hot. It was just that I was the one drinking it. I turned my eyes away, pretending I hadn't seen anything, but my best friend had. She elbowed me. Wait a second, Rita, isn't that your husband? Why is he sitting with another woman? I saw them. They're just co-workers, I replied. Co-workers? Who sits that close and blows on someone else's soup? That girl is practically hanging on him. I can't take this. He's messing with my best friend, and it's time he pays. And before I could stop her, my best friend stood up and shouted, Kevin, have you no sense of boundaries? That woman is practically clinging to you. If I didn't know better, I'd think you two were a couple. And you shameless woman, he's married, and yet you're still chasing after him, trying to become his mistress. The crowd around us quickly turned to watch the scene unfold. Sabrina clutched at her clothes like a child who had done something wrong, her eyes red with tears. Stop it, Kevin shouted, forcefully pushing my friend away, then turned his cold gaze toward me. Rita, how could you be so despicable? Sabrina hadn't eaten anything last night. I just took her out for dinner. And you send her friend to humiliate her in public? What do you want? To make her lose face? Does that make you happy? I really didn't expect you to stoop so low. I misjudged you. He looked at me with eyes full of disappointment as he pulled Sabrina into his arms to comfort her. In that moment, everyone in the restaurant stared at me like I was the villain. I met Kevin's eyes calmly and replied, I didn't instruct anyone to shame her. But people have eyes, not everyone is blind. Then, ignoring Kevin's shocked expression, I turned and left with my furious best friend. Outside the restaurant, my friend was still ranting. That heartless bastard, Rita. Do you remember how you gave up your dream for him? You gave up your dream just to be a regular doctor at some small hospital, and now he dares to say those things to you? I swear I just want to crush him. I forced a smile. It was at this very restaurant that Kevin had proposed to me, promising to treat me well forever. I remembered jokingly telling him, you better not lie to me, or I'll disappear and you'll never find me. What was meant to be a sweet joke had become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Chapter 4. When I got home, I checked my phone and realized there were only 7 days left until the 3rd of next month. I planned to start packing but soon realized I didn't have many belongings. A single suitcase would be enough. When Kevin came home, he was staring at the divorce papers on the table. Since I was about to leave anyway, I thought this was the right time to bring it up. He changed his shoes and headed into the study. I picked up the divorce papers and was just about to knock when I heard Sabrina's voice. Professor, are you really going to divorce Rita? My hand clenched instinctively around the papers. So, he wanted a divorce too? That was fine. This conversation might go easier than I thought. Suddenly, the door to the study swung open. I was about to speak, but before I could, he cut me off, saying he had to work late, then left without another word. After he left, I took a shower and prepared for bed. That night, I had a dream. I was still a little girl, wrapping my arms around my father's neck. He looked at me lovingly and asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said I wanted to be a doctor like my parents, to save lives and help the sick. My mother smiled and said, then you have to eat well and grow strong because being a doctor takes a lot of strength. I woke up to the faint light of dawn. I went to my suitcase and pulled out the white coat my parents had worn before they sacrificed their lives. In the pocket was the final letter my father had written to me, still quietly resting there. Rita, even though your mother and I are no longer with you, we hope you won't give up. Be strong. People may fail, but they must never be defeated. Face the hardships and pain of life with courage. The ultimate value of life is having no regrets when you close your eyes. Do what you want to do. Your mother and I will be watching from above. My nose stung and my eyes welled with tears. I put on my father's white coat and stood in front of the mirror, holding back tears as I whispered, Dad, Mom, I won't let you down. Just then, the door opened and Kevin walked in, his brows slightly furrowed. Why are you wearing that coat? You still want to be a doctor with Doctors Without Borders? I bit my lip, holding back tears. No, I'm just wearing it for fun. Kevin nodded and comforted me with a few words, but my eyes had already fixed on the bright red lipstick mark on his neck freshly applied. He followed my gaze, looked down, and saw the mark too. I froze for a second and murmured softly, "Kevin, why don't we get a divorce?" He was stunned for a moment before his face darkened immediately. "What are you talking about? How can you say something like that so casually?" Then he stormed off and slammed the door. A while later, he came back and asked, "Where are our wedding photos?" I was caught off guard for a second and quickly lied. The frame was getting old, so I took it to be reframed. If he truly cared, he would have noticed that all traces of me had already been slowly disappearing. That night, as I lay half asleep, I suddenly felt someone wrap their arms around me. A voice, softer than usual, whispered, "Were you jealous today?" There's nothing going on between Sabrina and me. That lipstick mark happened when she almost helped her up, and it rubbed off by accident. We're completely innocent. She's just a colleague. I pulled away from his embrace and responded calmly, "I believe you." That finally seemed to calm Kevin's restless mood. He held me close and soon fell into a deep sleep. I looked at his closed eyes, the crease in his brow, and the darkness in his expression. A colleague? He took his colleague stargazing, celebrated her birthday, took her to Disney yet told me birthdays were only for children. The endless disappointments had drained me. I no longer had the strength to believe in his words. Chapter 5. The next day, I went to the office to renounce my citizenship. Today was the day I was leaving, and I hoped everything would go smoothly. But on the way back, I suddenly received an urgent call. Kevin had been in a car accident. My mind went blank. I immediately flagged down a taxi and rushed to the hospital. Just as I was about to push open the door, I heard voices from inside. "Kevin, you really scared me when you pushed Sabrina. Weren't you afraid the car would hit you? Look at how shaken you are." "Don't worry, it's okay. The doctor said it's just a scratch. But if Rita finds out you're injured, she'll be really scared." By the way, when Sabrina fainted, she said that when she woke up, she wanted to marry you to thank you. But you won't marry her, right? Why not? Sabrina had an abortion because of me before. My heart felt like it was being squeezed, and I couldn't breathe. So that was their history. Sabrina had an abortion because of Kevin. No wonder he couldn't let her go. A pair of tragic lovers torn apart because of me. My vision blurred, and I didn't even notice my nails digging into my skin. There were moments when I truly believed Kevin when he said it was just collegial care. Now everything made sense. It had all been inevitable. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. The moment I stepped inside, everyone turned to look at me, and Kevin's friends looked visibly uncomfortable. "Sister, when did you get here?" "Kevin's fine, don't worry." "Yes, sister, he was just trying to save someone. Please don't misunderstand." Their words were just a clumsy attempt to cover the truth. I ignored them and walked straight to Kevin, handing him the divorce agreement. "Kevin, you really scared me this time. I bought some insurance for you, and I need you to sign it." Kevin looked at me with suspicion, as if he wanted to say something but held back. At that moment, Sabrina stirred and murmured softly. Kevin hesitated no more, signed the papers quickly, and turned to comfort her. Then he looked at me. "Rita, I get some rest. I'll come visit you tomorrow. Don't worry, I haven't misunderstood anything." Because the truth needed no interpretation. Kevin let out a relieved sigh and returned to comforting Sabrina. Chapter 6. As I walked out the door, Kevin seemed to sense something and rushed out after me. "While I'm not home these next few days, make sure to lock all the doors and windows. With the holidays coming, there are more thieves around." I smiled and replied, "Got it. This should be our final exchange. Kevin, from now on, we won't see each other again." After leaving the hospital, I followed the rescue team straight to the airport, beginning my journey to Country M. My path as a doctor with Doctors Without Borders was about to begin. I was ready to give my all to bring light to people's lives. Kevin remained in the hospital for a few more days, during which Sabrina stayed by his side. He constantly glanced toward the door, feeling an emptiness in his heart. At first, he didn't even know what he was waiting for. But when a colleague casually asked why his wife hadn't come to visit, Kevin finally understood the source of that hollow feeling. Rita had promised to visit the next day, but 5 days had passed, and she hadn't shown up even once. Panic crept into Kevin's heart. Sabrina peeled an apple and held it up to his lips, but he didn't react. "Professor, what's wrong? Why do you look so lost?" Are you worried about work? She pouted. Don't worry, the school already approved your leave. Just don't overthink it, okay? Have some apple. Kevin forced a smile, but still didn't eat. It's not about work, Sabrina. Could you go home and check on Rita for me? She hasn't been around these past few days, and I'm feeling uneasy. A flash of resentment passed through Sabrina's eyes, but she smiled and agreed. All right, if the professor insists, I'll go check on her. But Rita doesn't like me much, so I'm afraid she won't appreciate me showing up. Kevin frowned slightly, recalling how Rita had treated Sabrina over the past 6 months. He worried that Sabrina might feel hurt if she went. He sighed gently. Forget it's probably just busy. No need to go. I'll be out of the hospital in a few days anyway. Kevin told himself that once he was discharged, he would have to talk things through with Rita. Her hostility toward Sabrina had been excessive, and he didn't understand where it came from. He still needed to work with Sabrina, and Rita's behavior was making things difficult. But that night, the strange unease returned. Rita's eyes kept flashing through his mind, eyes filled with an indescribable sadness. His heart raced. It felt like something was quietly spiraling out of control behind his back. He finally fell asleep but had a terrifying nightmare. He dreamed that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find her. He couldn't take it anymore. At dawn the next morning, he pulled out his 4-line. He had to go home. He needed to confirm if Rita was still there. Just as Kevin tried to get up, a pair of pale hands gently pressed him back onto the bed. Professor, you're still recovering. You need to stay a few more days in the hospital. Rita's an adult, she can take care of herself. If you're really worried, I'll go check on her. Worst case, she yells at me a little. Sabrina spoke softly, but Kevin pushed her hand away and said quietly, Forget it. I'd rather go home. I've been here for days, and I'm probably not seriously injured. I can rest at home. Sabrina immediately began crying. Kevin, please stay a few more days for me. Just rest and recover properly. After all, you got hurt saving me. If you leave now, I'll feel really uneasy and guilty. For a moment, Kevin's face turned cold, and his voice dropped. What don't you understand? And what do you mean, for me? Don't say things that could be misunderstood. If Rita hears that, she'll take it the wrong way. It's been years. You should let go of those feelings. You'll always be Zach's girlfriend to me. Don't expect me to see you as a woman. Chapter 7. 6 years ago, Kevin's best friend Zach was still alive. Back then, Zach had a girlfriend he truly loved, Sabrina. But the truth was, Sabrina only agreed to be with him because he was Kevin's best friend. Kevin was the heartthrob of University A, adored and admired by countless girls including Sabrina. After being rejected by him, she settled for second best, staying close to Kevin by being with Zach, harboring a secret love for him all along. Then, a devastating earthquake struck, taking Zach's life. Kevin was supposed to die that day, but Zach sacrificed himself to save his best friend. His final wish was for Kevin to take care of Sabrina. At that time, Sabrina was already pregnant with Zach's child. Pregnant and unmarried, she was disowned by her ashamed parents, who publicly rejected her and said they no longer wanted a daughter like her. They forced her to reveal the father's identity. Crying, Sabrina went to Kevin. Knowing how oppressive her family was and not wanting Zach's death to be further disgraced, Kevin claimed the child as his own. But at the time, Kevin was still a poor student. Sabrina's parents beat him and forced her to have an abortion. From that moment, everyone at school believed Sabrina had aborted Kevin's baby and praised her as a deeply devoted and loving girl. So when Kevin's friends said what they did in the hospital, they truly believed it. But only Kevin knew the truth. His feelings for Sabrina had always been that of brotherly loyalty toward his best friend's girl, and nothing more. Kevin no longer paid attention to Sabrina. Once discharged from the hospital, he rushed home, eager to see Rita. But when he opened the front door and called out her name by habit, he was met with endless silence. He looked around the empty home. Rita's presence had vanished without a trace. In their wedding photo, half of Rita had been cut out. Her toothbrush, clothes, jewelry, and purse were gone. Even her slippers by the door had disappeared. On the coffee table sat a document and a note. Kevin, hands trembling, picked them up. The document was titled, Application to Doctors Without Borders, in bold letters. The note read, Kevin, I wish you happiness for the rest of your life. It was signed by Rita. Kevin could hardly believe it. He called her over and over again, but silence was all that answered. Then he suddenly remembered Rita had said she bought him insurance. She had loved him so deeply, how could she abandon him to become a doctor for Doctors Without Borders? Suddenly, Kevin realized when he had looked at that document that day, it hadn't mentioned any insurance. It was some sort of agreement. He'd wanted to take a closer look, but Sabrina had interrupted him. A wave of panic surged through his chest. He tore through the drawers for a long time searching for the insurance, but couldn't find it. Instead, he found the divorce agreement with his own signature. The date of the document, January 13th, 2025. Chapter 8. That was more than a month ago. Kevin stared at the date over and over until the memory clicked. The day before that had been Rita's birthday. Rita, who usually wore no makeup, had lightly done her face that day and looked beautiful. She had told him, "Kevin, it's my birthday today. I want to have some cake. Will you come with me to buy one?" To Kevin, birthdays were trivial. At the time, Sabrina had been sick and all alone. She didn't open up to anyone except him.
And it was just a birthday.
If they didn't celebrate it this year, there was always next year. Kevin didn't think it was a big deal. As for celebrating Sabrina's birthday, it was for Zach. Zach had always spent Sabrina's birthday with her every year. Kevin had promised Zach he would take care of her, but he had failed, allowing her to go through an abortion and suffer alone. Out of guilt, he tried to make up for it in other ways. What he didn't expect was that because of what he saw as a trivial thing, Rita had actually kept her promise. She really disappeared from his world without a word. He closed his eyes in pain, and suddenly that day's memories flooded back when Rita had said, "Kevin, why don't we get a divorce?" It turned out she wasn't joking or being emotional. She had truly wanted to end it. He remembered how he had comforted her and brushed it off, but thinking back now, she must have been completely disappointed in him. She had no energy left to fight or argue. The details from the past few weeks replayed clearly in his mind, how she had suddenly worn her father's white coat. That day in the restaurant, when he called her cruel, the cold look in her eyes. The wedding photo at home, he hadn't actually taken it to be reframed. It had all been a lie. She had planned to leave long ago. Kevin hit his own head, furious at himself for being so blind. If only he had noticed any of this over the past month, he would have known she was already gone. And yet he had signed the divorce agreement so foolishly, still believing her. Chapter 9. Kevin did everything he could to find out where Rita had gone, but turned up nothing. Suddenly, he thought of Lily, Rita's best friend. They were incredibly close, so surely she knew where Rita had gone. Excited, Kevin rushed to find Lily, but before he could even say a word, she slapped him across the face. "Teach, damn you. I let you off last time, and now you dare come here again." In the past, Kevin might have gotten angry, but now all he wanted was to find Rita. The slap didn't hurt him, nor did it upset him. If Lily was willing to tell him where Rita was, he would gladly endure more slaps. "Lily, where did Rita go? You must know, right? Please, I just need to talk to her. Please tell me." "Rita's your wife. She should be at home. Why are you here?" Kevin knew she was lying. "Rita's gone. She left to become a doctor with Doctors Without Borders. You're her best friend. You must know something." "What are you even talking about?" "Rita's location is a secret."
How would I know anything?
"And you, what exactly are you trying to prove?"
Disgusting.
"TSH." Kevin's face darkened, but he didn't give up. "Please, I'm begging you."
Just tell me.
"I'm begging. Late love is cheaper than weeds. Who are you trying to fool? Don't you remember how you treated Rita? At that restaurant, in front of so many people, you humiliated her, called her cruel just to defend your mistress. And now you dare ask where Rita is? She did the right thing. You'll never find her in this life." Kevin kept struggling at the door, trying to get in, until Lily called the building's security and had him thrown out. Chapter 10. Sabrina looked at Kevin with pity in her eyes and helped him up. "Professor, why are you doing this? Rita's gone. She left. Just let her go, and look around you, okay?" Kevin paused and looked at Sabrina. "Look around me? Who are you talking about? You? Do you really think you're worthy? You're not even worth a single strand of Rita's hair." Sabrina's face went pale. If Kevin had shouted or lashed out, it might have been easier to handle. But the calm in his voice, the cold clarity in his eyesight made her feel like she had never mattered to him at all. Kevin brushed her hand away and spoke flatly. Sabrina, if it weren't for Zach, I wouldn't have ever even looked at you. For 6 years, I've carried the burden for you. I've let Rita down again and again. That's enough. From now on, let's pretend we never met. As for Zach, I'll always owe him my life. But now I understand that debt is to him, not to you. Sabrina stood frozen as Kevin turned and walked away, disappearing into the traffic. But even after that, he didn't give up. He used every possible method to search for Rita. He even flew to the United Nations headquarters. Unsurprisingly, it was all in vain. The world was too vast, and finding someone who had already renounced their citizenship was nearly impossible. Eventually, he gave up. He fell into a state of despair, disheveled and lifeless. His passion for teaching and research began to fade, and everything he did became half-hearted. He realized he couldn't continue like Shi was deceiving his students, and that wasn't something he could accept. He knew Rita had become someone etched deep into his soul, someone he could never let go of. The only way to pull himself out of this wretched state was to find her. Only Rita could save him. So, he quit his job at the university and signed up as an international volunteer, traveling to war zones, disaster-stricken areas, regions hit by epidemics, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Wherever Doctors Without Borders might be, he would go. He believed that his sincere devotion would reach the heavens. Chapter 11. 3 months later, in an earthquake-ravaged zone in Country A, Kevin was busy moving supplies. A powerful quake had devastated the region, and his volunteer team had arrived to help. Suddenly, a familiar voice reached his ears. "Big brother, your hand is hurt. Let me carry this, you should rest. It's just a scratch, it's fine. But you haven't slept in days. Look at those panda eyes. Go get some rest in the tent. Rita, we've got injured over here." Kevin turned toward the voice, and the person he had been searching for all this time was standing right there in front of him. His eyes filled with tears, and in that moment, the world faded away. All he could see was Rita. His steps quickened, and his hand clenched into a fist at his side. I smiled at Luis and turned toward the injured, but before I could take another step, I was pulled into a warm embrace. "I found you. I finally found you, Rita." The trembling voice echoed above my head. My mind went blank, my body stiffened, and that voice continued to ring in my ears. "I searched for you so long. I almost thought something had happened to you. Rita, how could you be so heartless? You said you didn't want me and you just left me like that." It took me a moment to realize that the person holding me was Kevin. I forced myself to break free from his arms. "Sir, please respect yourself. Don't delay me from treating the wounded." Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked briskly toward the injured. Kevin followed, helping silently by my side. He didn't speak, but somehow, he always knew exactly what I needed without me having to say a word. After tending to the last of the wounded, Kevin continued following me. When he saw I was no longer busy, he pulled me into another tight embrace. His voice was thick with emotion. "Rita, don't move. Let me hold you." I wanted to push him away, but I couldn't. Not until his emotions finally calmed down did he let go. I shoved him hard. "What's wrong with you? Why are you hugging me? You're my wife. What's wrong with holding my own wife? Please understand we've been divorced for over 3 months. That doesn't count." I didn't mean, I cut him off. "I don't want to hear those meaningless words. What are you doing here?" He looked startled by my cold tone. I had always spoken gently to him before. "Is it because of Sabrina?" "Honey, listen to me, can explain. It's not what you think. She's just my friend's girlfriend." I was already too used to hearing those words. I had heard those words countless times. First he said she was just a colleague, and now he had a new excuse. But even so, I had no interest in listening anymore. I couldn't resist his persistent begging, so he poured out everything at once. But my heart, already shattered, could no longer be mended. All I could rely on now were my own feelings. "Do you really think that by saying all of this, I'll forgive you, Kevin? Even if you and Sabrina weren't involved that way, even if I believed she was truly the grieving fiancé of your late brother, then ask yourself this: ever since she transferred to your school, how have you treated me? He nervously took my hand. Rita, I know I made a mistake. I've hurt you so much, but I'll change. I really will, please believe me. Then he pulled out his phone, almost proudly showing it to me. Look, I deleted Sabrina already. I let out a cold laugh. So you're not blind after all? You finally realized there were no boundaries between you two. He was left speechless. Kevin, did you really think I'd always be the good wife, quiet and obedient? That I'd never complain? That no matter how much you hurt me, I'd never leave you? Is that why you felt free to treat me however you wanted, to say and do whatever you pleased without a single thought for how I felt crossing line after line with her? But you know what? No matter how much I loved you, I'm still a human being. I can feel pain too. And now, I'm completely disappointed in you. I don't want any of it anymore. So please, don't interfere in my life again. You saw it, I am happy now. I'm living a full life, every single day. Kevin's face turned pale, and a look of pain crossed his features. Just then, Luis walked over and said that some of the wounded needed their bandages changed. I nodded and turned to Kevin. This is where we end, Kevin. I don't regret loving you. And I hope you can move on soon. From now on, we'll both be okay. Chapter 12. After that day, I thought Kevin would finally take the hint and leave me alone, but he kept hanging around. I treated him like air. Until that day when Luis suddenly said he thought he had a fever. I touched my own forehead, then his, comparing temperatures. I don't think so. They feel the same. Before I could finish the sentence, an irritated, furious voice exploded beside me. What the hell are you doing? Kevin stormed between me and Luis, his face twisted with rage, as if he wanted to eat him alive. What's wrong with you, man? Why are you touching her? What the hell do you think you're doing? I offered Luis an awkward smile, then turned toward Kevin to scold him. And what does that have to do with you, Kevin? Don't you think you're butting into something that's none of your business? None of my business? He touched your forehead. He's taking advantage of you, Rita. Comrade, don't you know a man and a woman should maintain proper distance? Oh. So now he cared about boundaries between men and women? Where was all this concern before? I grabbed Luis's arm on purpose and said, Luis and I aren't taking advantage of each other. Kevin, do you really think that just because you left, I'd stay single for the rest of my life? Kevin froze. After a long pause, he murmured, What are you saying? Rita, you and him. I was just about to respond when suddenly, the ground trembled violently. I immediately realized it was an aftershock and instinctively ran toward the exit. But I hadn't even taken 2 steps when a thunderous boom shook everything, and darkness engulfed me. For a moment, I thought my life had ended. But when I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was Kevin. Coughing as he wiped the thick dust from my face, I realized he had shielded me with his own body from the collapsing debris that should have crushed me. I shook him. Kevin, don't fall asleep. Wake up, don't close your eyes. With great effort, he opened his eyes and gave me a faint smile. Rita, I'm so glad you're okay. His smile grew as he whispered, Rita, I really love you. Thank you for letting me meet you. Thank you for staying by my side all those years. Thank you for marrying me and becoming my wife. I know I've hurt you deeply, but I never lied to you. My love for you, it was always real. His voice grew weaker with every word, his breathing more labored. Rita, don't speak, Kevin. Don't say anything now. This isn't the time for that. We're going to get out of here. We'll be okay, Kevin. I didn't know why, but the tears wouldn't stop falling, one after another. He reached out and gently traced the contour of my eyes. There was a faint smile in his gaze. Seeing you cry for me, it makes me so happy. Rita, if there's a next life, I promise to love you the way you deserve. I'll never let you down. I don't know how I got out of there. When I came to, I was already in the safe zone. Luis was cleaning my wounds. And him? Did he wake up? My voice was hoarse, my eyes vacant. Luis's hands, which had been wrapping my injuries, paused for a moment. Then he looked up, his gaze clouded with grief. I heard his voice say, Rita, I'm so sorry for your loss. Loss? What loss? I looked at him, confused. Rita, Kevin wouldn't want you to be sad because of him. He's watching over you. You have to be happy. I felt a sudden emptiness in my chest. The name Kevin was burned into my heart like a red-hot iron, leaving behind a scar that would never fade. Chapter 13. After the rescue mission in Country A ended, I followed the medical team to several more places. 3 years later, the organization granted me a leave, and I finally returned to my homeland. I bought a plot in a cemetery with excellent feng shui and laid Kevin's ashes to rest there. I also went back to visit the place where we once lived. I didn't expect to run into Sabrina there. The moment she saw me, she became agitated and ran toward me. "Where's Kevin? Where is he?" Her expression was filled with desperation. She asked again and again, nearly hysterical. I pressed my lips together and said nothing. Then, as if something inside her snapped, she began to scream uncontrollably. "Where is Kevin? Where is he?" "He's dead." I said it with complete calm. In an instant, Sabrina went silent. She lowered her head slightly, her eyes blank.
Dead.
A second later, she burst into hysterical laughter. "Haha.
He's dead."
He's really dead." I watched as she ran off. Years had passed, and I had no idea what became of her after that. Honestly, I didn't care. There had always been something about Sabrina that unsettled me. What I never imagined was that after learning of Kevin's death, Sabrina would jump off a building. She leapt from the same building where we had once lived instantly. 3 days later, I received my reactivation order from the organization. Before leaving, I visited Kevin one last time. And in that moment, I knew it was our final goodbye.